recovery is an experience. It's not like we figure it out logically and make sense and do it.
Yeah.
It's like we do it. We don't know why we're doing it, but every suggestion we're doing it. So here we go. We do it. Oh, now I understand why I do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Beyond the Window. I'm here with Ty and Danny, and we'd like to share our experience, strength, and hope with you. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Ty. I'm a recovering addict, 20 years clean. I've been working in treatment for a little over 5 years now. What about you?
So my name is Brandi Kirkland, and I went through the program at La Ventana 3 years, 9 months, and 19 days ago, and I'm back to work. I do oh my God, sorry. I do the community outreach, and I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so happy anyway. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Danny G. I'm a grateful addict in recovery. My clean date is March 5th, 2021. So I will have 5 years shortly. And I am a case manager at Ventana Treatment Programs.
Cool. So I think we came up with a good topic for discussion. You know, a lot of people get confused. There's more to recovery than just not using, right? Mm-hmm. And when we start working this program, it offers unlimited growth through the understanding and application of spiritual principles. And a lot of us have a misconception of what that means. And if the word spirituality bothers you, we could just call them principles of recovery. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was getting clean, I'd go to meetings and people would be talking about these magical spiritual principles and how they transformed their lives, or the tools of recovery, and I'm going to apply them into my life and transform my life. But nobody ever told you what these tools were, or what these principles were, right? And finally, I got to a place where they broke them down so simply, I couldn't help but understand them and how to apply them into my life. And what I've learned is that these principles that they're talking about are just simple words. They're simple words that I've misused my whole life. And until I got into recovery, I didn't realize these words were written in a different context. And when I learned to get these words in the right context, they had the power to transform my life into a positive direction of change, what offers unlimited potential for growth through the understanding and application of these simple principles, right? And when we get into the 12-step communities, right, we work the steps. And by doing that, we've learned to apply certain principles into our lives. We continue to practice these principles in all our affairs, and our lives continue to flourish into a positive direction of change, right? So these simple words are words that I misused my whole life. And until I got into recovery, I didn't realize they had a different context. They're simple words like honesty. Until I got clean, I had no clue what honesty even meant. Mm-hmm. Acceptance, surrender, hope, faith, courage, willingness, dignity, integrity, humility, and the list goes on, right? And there's two things that all these principles have in common. They're all words or tools that help me define the truth. And another thing they have in common is there's open-ended. There's no end to how far I could apply these principles. There's no end to how honest I could become. There's no end to how much I could apply humility in my life, right? And that's why we call them practice these principles. First, we get the context right through working the steps. Then we practice them in all our affairs. And the more we practice them, the better we get at it. And I don't know about you guys, but before I got into recovery, all I had was character defects to act out on.
That's true.
I had no other choice. When I started getting these principles in the right context, and I had a choice, I could either act out on my principles or my character defects. At least now I have a choice. I don't have to act out on my character defects. And what I've learned through the years is the more I practice these principles in all my affairs, the more my life begins to flourish into a positive direction of change, and the more I can live in harmony with reality. And for me, that's what spirituality is. It's just to live in harmony with reality and the ability to make healthy decisions based on the truth. Right? And, so we all like get clean and we have goals and we have aims and we want to achieve these goals and aims, right? But if I have to compromise my principles to achieve these goals or aims, I don't want it. I don't want it. And sometimes it's the way I'm going about it. Sometimes the aim or the goal is not wrong. I'm just going about it the wrong way. And I need to redirect that through my principles: honesty, acceptance, surrender, hope, faith, courage, willingness, action. Now I could achieve that goal, that aim. Sometimes if I can't find a way to bring it through my principles to achieve that goal or aim, it's not meant to be. It's not meant to be. And every time I end up in a negative situation, I could always see where I compromised my principles and I created my own problems. And if I'm catching this way before, when I'm compromising my principles, I'm catching this way before I even think about a relapse. Right? And for me, recovery is just about the continuous application and practice of these principles and continuous growth through the process. And I know you guys all had an experience with practicing these principles and the benefits, and maybe how these simple words I misused, and maybe an experience or how I come to learn to practice them in the right context and the benefits that as a result. I think that would be a good opening topic for discussion for the day.
Yeah.
So, jump in.
So I'm thinking about, you brought up a lot of good things, Ty. It's like, it made me reflect, like when I was early in recovery, we're talking about that 12th step. I'm supposed to practice these principles in all of my affairs. How am I supposed to practice these principles if I don't even know what they are? Right. And like being in recovery and getting clean is much deeper than stop using. Right. There's a lot of work to be done, internal work. And I'm grateful for the process that pushes me through that internal work. It motivates me to change. And I've learned that the opposite of these principles are my character defects, right? And it's these things that I need to address at my core. It's because it's these things that I keep going back to using are these defects of character, and how reliant I've been on these defects to get my needs met. Because as a human being, I have basic needs. I want to experience intimacy. I want to experience love. I want to experience connection, right? I want to be free. But I kept relying on my defects like pride, anger, or shame, or guilt to meet those needs. How many times have I used anger as a form of manipulate or to control somebody? But what I was really trying to do is have intimacy and connection. So I was going at it in the wrong way. And so I had to adopt these principles in order to meet that need of intimacy, right? Because it's a lot quicker to feel the intimacy when I'm using anger and control, right? But it wasn't real intimacy. It was all fantasy. And so I had to learn how to adopt these principles like empathy, trust, courage, humility, patience, to be able to be intimate with another human being. And it's like I had no idea what intimacy meant. until I started experiencing that sponsor and sponsee relationship, because like that was the first person where I was able to be rigorously honest with. In every relationship in the past, I've used this honesty to get my way. And with my sponsor, I was exposed to these principles and the value of these principles. And it all started with that relationship, right? And I'm able to take that experience from that relationship and share it with others. So practicing these principles with my sponsor, practicing these principles with the fellowship, practicing these principles with my sponsees, and I built from there. And then I get to share it with my family. I get to share it with my coworkers. I get to share it with my friends, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, these principles are vital for my recovery, and that they protect me from relapse.
You know, you're bringing up a great topic. Okay, so like when I did my fifth step with my sponsor, where I admitted to God, to myself, and to another human being the exact natures of my wrong, I bared my soul to them, man. The masks were gone, and I just put it all out, and everything that I thought I would never share with another human being, right? And in return, he shared part of his fifth step too. And that was probably the first time I've ever experienced intimacy in my life. It was with another man, you know, and then we learned what it feels like. And then we learned to practice that in all our affairs, right? It's like that fifth step, I bared my soul, and he in return bared part of his. And that was probably the first genuine, authentic connection I've ever felt in my life.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, because it feels good to be vulnerable like that and be honest like that. Why couldn't I do it in the past?
Because we had the mask on and we're pretending to be something we weren't.
Right.
So were they.
Right.
No connection.
Right. I think about how my pride has gotten in the way, or like a delusion of, or like self-reliance, right? That I can do this. I can recover alone, and I don't need you, and I don't need the program, and I don't need the fellowship. Right? My pride gets in the way, or the opposite of that, where it's just like shame that I'm not worthy of your help, that I'm not worthy of your love, I'm not worthy of your time.
You know, and you bring up a good point. It's like so many times, like somebody with 5 years clean will come up to me and ask me to sponsor them, right? And they'll say like, I already been through the 12 steps. Do we got to start over? And I'll bring up the 12th step. We practice these principles in all our affairs. And they go, what principles? I go, yeah, we're starting over at step one. You missed it.
Yeah.
You missed it. You know, and for those of us that are new, we all start with the spiritual principle of honesty, right? That's in our first step. Why don't we talk a little bit about what I thought honesty meant, what was the difference between rigorous honesty and recovery, and how I had it confused.
So being newer in recovery, I'm still more conscientious about using the principles in all my affairs. It doesn't come as easily to me, but I remember I was lucky enough to have Ty as my facilitator when I was in group, and I had heard of the steps. I had started the steps. I'd never heard of the principles, the spiritual principles. And the first one that he gave me was honesty. And I was like, are you picking on me? Like, why do you think I need honesty? And he was like, well, everyone does. It starts with that. And so I had to realize that I was not being honest with myself. And so I couldn't be honest with other people. And honesty meant like at the core of things, like what is it that you're doing? What is it that you're thinking? How is it that you're loving? How is it? And you just have to be truthful, but in such a it's like a spiritual way that you have to be truthful, and you get to be truthful, and yeah. So
yeah, I think about dishonesty, right? How I've been so dependent on my dishonesty
Or we
because
call that denial.
Denial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So I would practice dishonesty because I felt that I needed to protect my reputation or my self-image, right? And then practicing honesty, step one is like admitting my powerlessness, which is my first surrender.
Probably the first honest admission I ever made in my life
Yeah.
is when I got honest and admitted that I was powerless over my addiction.
Yes.
And if I put any mind-altering substance in my body, I'll trigger my addiction all over again, and I can't stop under my own power.
Yes.
That was probably the first honest admission I've ever made in my life. And what that did was open the door, and it relieved me from that denial or self-deception or rationalization that I could just have one. It'll be different this time. Or I could just smoke a little weed. Or I could go have one beer, which kept me in that trap of triggering my addiction all over again and ending up back in detox again and again and again until I finally made that real on it. If I put any mind-altering substance in my body, I will trigger my addiction all over again. And once I start, I can't stop under my own power.
Yeah.
Something has to intervene. Now I practice that honesty
Yeah.
in all my affairs.
Yeah.
Okay, so that honesty is what got me out of active addiction and into recovery. See how we practice that the power of that simple word used in the right context has over my addiction, my disease thinking. It says in our literature, honesty is the antidote to my disease thinking. It's the antidote to my denial. There's other words that have a lot of power that aren't very spiritual, like denial. Denial means I'm lying to myself and I don't even know it.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm lying to myself and I don't know I'm doing it, how do I stop? I start practicing the honesty. But the kind of honesty we're talking about in recovery isn't the kind of honesty where I tell you the truth. It's the kind of honesty where I quit lying to myself.
Yeah.
So when I get that principle of honesty in the right context, it has power to overcome my denial.
Yeah.
Right? It's like the two can't live in the same thought process at the same time. I'm either in honesty or I'm in denial. Right? The only way I'm going to get out of denial is to get honest. Right?
And also like being honest about my unmanageability. Right? It's like that first step, inventory work, is precious. It was precious for me because I couldn't deny that my life was unmanageable when I had all these outside issues. I have all these family issues and financial issues and employment issues and friendships issues, all types of issues, emotional, spiritual, physical issues. And when I take a deep dive and do this inventory work, I see my unmanageability and I see my powerlessness. I say, okay, Danny, I really am an addict and I am powerless. And if I pick up again, I'm continuing to cause more unmanageability or creating more wreckage.
You know, the unmanageability was a hard one, and it probably took me about 10 years clean to really understand what that means, right? And I thought it was the drugs that made my life unmanageable, and I was supposed to take away the drugs and learn how to be a better manager, right? And the first step says my life is unmanageable. And what that means to me now is I will never be able to manage my life. It doesn't mean take away the drugs and learn how to manage well. It means fire the manager and allow this process to guide me.
Yeah.
Right?
Which brings us to step 2 and 3, where there's hope and faith that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity, and to surrender my will and allow a higher power to manage,
To guide me.
to guide.
Yeah. So now I look at unmanageable in a different way. It's not take away the drugs and learn how to manage well. It's take away the drugs and fire the manager. Yeah. And step 2 and step 3, step 2, we interview new managers. Step 3, why don't we let our higher power do it? He's dying to do it. All we got to do is ask.
Now that we have one.
Uh-huh.
Now that we have one.
Now that we have one. Use them.
Now that we realize we need one and we
Yeah.
have one. Yeah.
Well, okay, so hope was another word that I had misused my whole life, right? I remember like being in a fucking courtroom and being in a courtroom and being, man, I hope I don't go to prison, right? And what I realized, and of course I went back to prison, and what I realized, that's not hope. That's wishful thinking, right? So in recovery, there's a difference between hope and wishful thinking. And I had that word wrong the whole time. And when I got in the rooms and people are talking about, you just need to practice some hope, I'm like, how's that going to work? It's never worked before. But I realized I had the word. I didn't know what the word meant, right? And when I got into step 2, and it says, we came to believe in a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity, I realized I was working that step backwards. I thought it was your guys' job to explain it to me so I understood it, then I would believe it. And when I believed it, then I would do it. And I ran out of so many treatment centers because I didn't understand none of this. I didn't believe it, and I ain't doing it. And you guys let me down again. When I realized I had it backwards, I don't have to understand none of it. I don't have to believe it. I just have to do it. And when I started surrendering to the simple suggestions of the program, and I started feeling evidence of them working, holy shit, it's fucking working. That's what hope feels like. It's not wishful thinking. I tried these new things because somebody else suggested them. When I felt evidence of them working, now I'm coming to believe. Holy shit, it's fucking working. That's what hope feels like.
Because I'm taking action, right? Hope and faith is implying action. You know, we hear it all the time. Faith without works is dead. Faith without works is dead. So it's like, yes, I pray. Yes, I have hope, but I also need to put in the work.
Yeah.
So as I start putting in the work through these principles, I start having a spiritual experience. And that turns into faith.
You know, you're bringing up a big stumbling block in recovery, right? It's like a lot of us try to figure this out intellectually, right? And it's like, I have never met anybody too stupid to get this thing, but I have met hundreds of people too smart. And we're trying to intellectualize this and figure it out with logic, but recovery is an experience. It's not like we figure it out logically and make sense and do it.
Yeah.
It's like we do it. We don't know why we're doing it, but every suggestion we're doing it. So here we go. We do it. Oh, now I understand why they do it.
Yeah.
Right.
But it is important to have the intellectual part too, because that's what the literature is for, right?
No.
I open up my basic text or my big book. I open up recovery literature to gain knowledge, right? To learn what these steps are, to learn what these principles are. But to take that knowledge and apply it through action, then it turns into wisdom.
Yeah. Well, it's like, for me, it's like recovery motivated me into a different course of action. I would have never have tried these actions without recovery. And when I went into these different courses of action, I started having new experiences. These experiences changed me. Not the understanding of them, the knowing, the doing.
Feeling.
The feeling.
You feel it.
You feel
It's
it.
like,
You
that's
have
the
to
only reason I'm still
experience
here.
it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
that is the hardest thing for an addict to do, is
Stress.
feel it.
And wait to feel it because we want immediate gratification.
We're afraid to feel.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about feelings, what types of feelings are we referring to? Because I could easily feel shame and remorse and guilt and self-pity and self-obsession. And
let's bring it back to hope.
Yeah, I started, there was something in my heart that just opened up, and I just started feeling like, I started believing that I could change and that my life would change, and that there were little things, and I can't remember what they are now. I wrote them down. I wrote everything down during my recovery process, but I just remember waking up and feeling different. I remember going to bed and feeling different. I remember um, walking around and like just looking at everything in a different way, but it was like it was coming from like a light inside of me, not from outside. If that makes sense. It's really hard to explain spiritual, but yeah, it was something that was definitely felt. And like with step 3, that's an action step. And that's when I really started feeling something that was different.
You ever have cried before because you're just
You're
so
great.
happy
Yeah.
and grateful?
Yeah.
When I felt that for the first time
Mm-hmm.
in recovery, I knew that I was having a spiritual
I
experience.
remember when that happened one day. I was in my sober living where I lived for 9 months, and I woke up one morning and I was just like, God, I'm so happy being where I am. I'm so happy. My family is good. I'm good with my family. The dogs are good. I was so happy with every single breath that I was taking. I just wept.
Yeah.
And I remember you talking about in group, like, when you're grateful is when you weep. And I thought about that when I was just
That's what
so
gratitude.
much
That's what
happiness. It was
gratitude
like,
feels like.
yeah.
When you feel so good, you cry.
Yeah.
Right? Most of us didn't know you could cry from feeling good. We just cried when we were in pain.
So grateful.
Right. Right. Okay, so like we're afraid to feel, right? I'm afraid to feel hope. I'm afraid to get my hopes up. I've let myself down so many times. I told people 100 times that I'll never do it again, and I did it again the next day. I don't even want to say I'll never do it again. I know I'm lying.
Well, just are so in control of it. Like we feel like we need to control everything. We don't stop to wait to see how we should feel. We just are full on.
We're afraid to feel.
Forward.
We're avoiding those. We're using drugs to numb our
through
feelings.
it so quickly.
And that's like the hardest part. And we're doing that when we get clean. We're trying to intellectualize it and not feel it. That's the hardest thing to do, is get out of your head and into your heart and actually allow myself to feel it and get my hopes up and be inspired and get passionate about recovery. I'm going to tell you what really got me clean, right? I started falling in love with the idea of being clean.
Mm-hmm.
I started falling in love with the idea of being clean. And the ways and the means and the hows just kind of fell into place.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, think about that. Like if you're struggling and you're fucking new, what does it look like to be free from this disease of addiction? Right? What does it look like to no longer have to be a slave to the disease? What kind of life does that?
I will tell you one thing. You have a lot more free time. When you're not spending so much time
pursue your goals
finding
in life,
drugs, sneaking around, doing the drugs, making sure you are presentable to the world after doing the drugs, doing more drugs before you leave the house.
It consumed your life, right?
It consumes your life.
Yeah.
You have no time for anything else. It's all drugs.
Okay, so what now? Life not a slave to that no more is so freeing.
It is.
I'm not dependent on it.
I also, I didn't have a lot of things to fill my time with in the beginning. And so I just jumped into recovery, going to meetings every day, and I started going to the gym. And these two things, like, still to this day are the things that keep me focused. But also when I was early on, I didn't know what to do with myself, and I knew that I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. I was getting clean, and I was like, I started sponsoring. I was doing all the things, but I just needed to I totally lost my train of thought.
Yeah. I think we touched on like some good differences between what these simple words, how I had the context wrong. Right? Like we just talked about, like honesty isn't the kind of honesty where I tell you the truth, but it's where I stop lying to myself. And when I get that context right, it has the power to overcome my denial. Right? And the hope isn't wishful thinking. It's actually feel evidence of it working. Right?
Yeah.
And we talked about gratitude. A lot of times in treatment, they tell people, well, start your day with the gratitude list. We're like, I'm grateful we had tacos for lunch. No, gratitude's when you feel so good, you cry. right? Like being in the delivery room when my daughter was born and watching her eyes open for the first time.
Yeah.
If I would have done one thing different in my life, this life would not have been that miracle of life being created right then. It felt so good I cried. Which is the same feeling I have every time I see an addict lose the desire to use or find a way to live. And watch that miracle of recovery happen, that gift of life.
So if I'm new in treatment or I'm new in recovery and I lack gratitude, how can I cultivate it?
So gratitude is a practice, right? And I meditate from gratitude every day. That's how I start my day. That's how I do my third and 11th step.
Yeah.
Right? And like my obsessive compulsive thought process wants me to see the worst possible scenario in every situation. I always want to point out the negative in everything, right? And I'll just obsess on it, right? So when I start my day with meditation, and then I recall past experiences in my life that I was really grateful for having, like being in the delivery room and watching my daughter open her eyes for the first time. It's like we have good memory. I don't care how bad your life is. There's good things in there we could recall. We just choose to obsess on the negative, right? And I sit there in meditation and I'll bring up the delivery room, watching the little girl open her eyes. The first time I hit a home run in Little League, the first time I hit a double jump on my dirt bike and hit it just right. We got the good things, and I just keep going and going and going until I hit that frequency of gratitude where I feel so good I want to cry.
Love that.
Now I'm ready to start my day. And everything I do throughout my day feeds that feeling. And then I start my day the next day, tapping back into it, spend all day making that stronger. If it don't feed that feeling, I don't want it.
Yeah.
I don't care how much money's involved.
Yeah. And I think about generosity too, right? Like generosity is an expression of our gratitude. I express my gratitude by doing generous acts of kindness.
Okay, sometimes I don't know how to feel gratitude, but I could start giving. And when I'm giving, I'll start feeling gratitude. Because if I'm really grateful for something, I will give generously. But sometimes I can't.
Out of your time, your energy,
Yes.
Which makes me think about sponsorship, right?
Mm-hmm.
What an act of gratitude and generosity to serve humanity, to serve our sponsees, to serve the addict who is still suffering.
I always try to explain to my sponsees how important it is to me that they exist. You know, they always feel like I don't want to bother you. And I'm like, oh my God, you're doing so much for me. Please let me help you.
Yeah.
Because it helps me so much. Yeah, I love it.
You know, that's the beautiful circle of recovery. We can't keep what we have until we give it away.
Yeah.
Right? I think we don't even get it till we start giving it away.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, I didn't even know what recovery was about until I started sponsoring people. That is what it's about. That is what it's about.
But what if I'm like a newcomer? I'm being self-obsessed again. It's like, I'm not there yet. I'm not at 12 step yet. I can't sponsor anybody. What can I do to express my generosity or gratitude?
Help out at meetings.
How?
Do the readings. Greet people. I don't know. Just say hi to a newcomer. Give them your phone number so they can call you if they feel like they need to talk. Yeah.
No, that's it. We all have something to give. Even an addict with 2 days clean could help somebody new get 1 day clean, right?
Yeah.
And if I'm going to a meeting or a group and I'm looking for what I get out of it, I ain't getting it. But if I walk into that same meeting or same group and I'm looking for what can contribute, then I get it. We all have something to contribute. We could get real, we could get vulnerable, we could share our experience. Somebody else will relate to it and identify it and get something out of it. We could show up early, set up chairs, we could make coffee, we could greet people, we could give out our number, we get rides to meet them. I just got to get out of myself. I'm not going to get nothing out of it if I'm looking for what do I get out of it. If I look for what I can contribute, then I get it. Then I get it.
Yeah. So step 3. What's the third step principle?
I got a good joke for step 3.
Okay.
Let's hear it. Come on.
Okay. So this kid walks into a 12-step meeting hall, and he's new, and he sees the 12 steps on the wall, and he looks confused. So one of the old-timers walk up to him and says, hey, you look confused. Would you like me to explain that? Maybe I could relieve some of your confusion. And the kid goes, okay, step 1, step 2. I ain't doing step 3. And the old-timer goes, why can't you do step 3? And he goes, turn my will and my life over to the care of God as you understood him. I don't believe in God. And the old-timer says, you don't have to believe in God to do that step. Matter of fact, if you turn your will and your life over the care of that chair right there, I'll guarantee you an instant miracle. So the kid goes, all right, I turn my will and my life over that chair right there. Where's my miracle? And the old timer goes, kid, the miracle is your life is no longer controlled by an idiot. That's pretty much the principle of step 3.
Oh, yes.
I think that was a pretty good run. Why don't we wrap this up?
That was good. Thank you for tuning in to Beyond the Window. You can find La Ventana on websites. You can find this podcast on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. Hopefully you'll join us again next week. Thank you.